When I first got my griddle, all I found on the internet were recipes, maybe some seasoning, cleaning, but no one was going over like how to use this thing. Most importantly, temperature control, cooking order, accessories. Well, I decided I needed to make that video. I'm gonna call it The Foundations of Griddling. Kind of sounds like I'm back in college with that title. Well, when in Rome. Still got it, it's like riding a bike, man. I hope this is helpful. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. First off, there's seasoning. So to season your griddle, you will need oil. I've used canola, avocado, and the Blackstone seasoning. They all worked fine for me. You'll need paper towels to spread the oil out, tongs to avoid burning your hands, and a couple beers. I don't know, I'd say 3 to 6 depending on how you're feeling that day. Step 1, wipe your griddle down with water to remove any factory residue. You could also use a mild dish soap at this point if you'd like. You're just getting off anything from, it's sitting in a box at Lowe's or whatever. Step 2, turn it on high for 10 to 15 minutes until it discolors. It should turn black. This is normal. Step 3, apply oil. 2 tablespoons of oil for a 2-burner griddle, 3 tablespoons for a 4-burner griddle. Spread it out thinly. Step 4, let it burn off completely, about 15 to 20 minutes, or until you no longer see smoke. Step 5, repeat this process 3 more times for a total of like 4 coats of oil. I'd say 3, 4, or 5 coats of oil is ideal for your griddle. Now it's done seasoning, so you're ready to cook. Some people like to cook a bag of sliced onions first to help set the seasoning. There's conflicting reports on the internet whether this actually works or not. So this step is optional. I've done it. I do like it, but I can't tell you for sure that it actually helps like set the seasoning in. Bacon is another good first cook. So like a bacon onion smash burger would be a good first cook. But this is after the seasoning process. I just want to make sure I'm not telling you to season your griddle with bacon from the beginning. You season it by burning off oil and then maybe use bacon, a pound of bacon as one of your first cooks. Speaking of oil, one of the most common questions I get from new owners is what oil I use to season and what oil I use to cook. I already went over the 3 canola, Blackstone, and avocado oil that I've used to season a new griddle. As far as cooking goes, I usually use avocado oil a lot just because it has a high smoke point and really a neutral flavor. I'll give you a general overview of other oils. Also, before I do that, I want to mention that I'm not going over any health aspects of oils. There's a lot of conversations lately around seed oils, and I am not qualified, nor is this that type of YouTube channel that's going to go into that. So I'm not saying anybody's right or wrong. That's just not what this video is about. So this is strictly how they work in relation to your griddle. High smoke point oils, best for griddling. Avocado oil, again, is my choice. It's got a high smoke point, about 480 degrees. It can be a little bit pricey though. Canola, vegetable oil, very affordable. Another high smoke point, around 450 degrees. Yeah, a lot of people like to use this, but it's also the one that some people hate because of the seed oil thing. But anyways, I'm not getting into that. Peanut oil, I like this for frying. I use it on my tacos dorados. It's got a high smoke point of 450 degrees. I just like it for frying. I don't know why. I think it gets you better crisp. I have nothing to back that up other than it's my personal opinion. 2 low smoke point oils. So I don't really use these for griddling, like extra virgin olive oil. It's too low, it's 350 degrees, so I don't use that. Coconut oil is delicious, but it's not ideal because again, it has a lower smoke point. And spray oils, here's what Blackstone says about like PAM and oils in a spray bottle. Most spray oils are not good for your griddle top. Many aerosol sprays contain additional ingredients such as lectin that are not good. You can always use liquid cooking oils on your griddle top. However, if you prefer the convenience of cooking sprays, we do offer a Blackstone griddle spray. Our spray was formulated without the additives that harm the griddle top. That's what they say, but that's their spray. I have no idea, so take it with a grain of salt. They're saying don't use spray oils, but buy theirs because it's different. So I've used it a couple times, didn't see any problems, but also I don't use it regularly now. I try to kind of avoid it. Number 3, not really oils, but worth mentioning. So clarified butter or ghee. Butter's great. You can use it on the griddle. You can throw it in there like with these onions here at the end to cook, but it has a low smoke point of 320, so just kind of watch how you use it. But clarified butter or ghee has a higher smoke point of like 480, so that's a good option to buy or make your own. Whirl, which is a diner style butter substitute. It's cheap, shelf stable, full of nostalgia. Your neighborhood diner probably uses this or something similar. You can get it from a restaurant supply store or off Amazon. I'll put a link below. I get mine off Amazon. This is what we used at Bob Evans. So, you probably would recognize the flavor. Sesame oil is a finishing oil. It's not for cooking. It adds that takeout style flavor to your fried rice. Definitely use this, but you don't cook in it. I use it at the end to toss my fried rice in it. Final takeaways, if you want a high smoke point, I like avocado oil. You want rich flavor, use ghee or clarified butter. For the diner style, why don't you just give it a whirl? Okay, that's enough dad puns. Whirl is a good option. If you want easy, canola oil, easy and cheap. But, like Forrest Gump said, that's all I have to say about that. Temperature control. When I worked at Bob Evans, the first thing we did in the morning was turn on the flat top. Then after a half hour, we'd make sure it's at the proper temp. Getting your griddle to the right temp is, in my opinion, the most important part of griddle cooking. So that's why I recommend everyone should get an infrared thermometer. I like the 2-in-1 from ThermoPro because it gets you the griddle temp with the infrared part, and you can get the internal food temp with the probe, like on a piece of chicken. They gave me a link to share for 20% off, which is in the description if you want one. Let's go over what temps I cook certain foods at and how I get my griddle to the proper temp. So I have a full temp chart here, which you can get if you sign up for my newsletter or just buy the ebook in the description. It's pretty detailed at what temps I cook certain foods at, but a simple way to think about it is what I call the EGS method, EGS, just one G. Eggs and omelets are between 300 and 325 degrees. You cook these low. This is at Bob Evans, we had a flat top specifically just for eggs and omelets, and it was set at this temperature. General cooking, 350 to 400. This is where I do my potatoes, pancakes, bacon, sausage, just regular burgers. Most of my cooking is done there. And finally, S is for searing. So steaks and smash burgers mainly. I do from 425 up, really probably 450 to 500 degrees. Now, how do you get your griddle to the proper temperature now that you know what temperature you want to cook certain foods at? Well, I got 5 tips for that. First, preheat on low. I start all burners on low for 10 minutes to preheat the griddle. It gives it even heating and hopefully prevents it from warping. That's why I don't crank it up on high to cook. I only do that, for the first initial seasoning. So after 10 minutes on low, check it with an infrared thermometer, then adjust it as needed. It's easier to raise the temp than it is to lower the temp. 2, put food down at the right time. Once you hit your target temperature, if you're going for 375 for like chicken breast, put the food down when it hits 375. Don't let it preheat too long. Don't walk away. 10 minutes is enough. Even on low, after 20 minutes, if you lose track of time, it could get too hot. 3, learn your griddle's hot and cool spots. Every griddle has quirks. Test with a thermometer to find the best spots for different foods. Or you can do a toast test. This is where you put a full bag of bread down on low, medium low, for 10 minutes. Then you flip over the bread toast and you can have a visual representation of where your hotter and cooler spots are on your griddle top. 4, you'll turn some burners off to get to the proper temperature. If the griddle gets too hot, I'll turn off burners that I'm not using. So maybe I'll keep the middle 2 ones on, and usually I'm turning off one of the outside burners to use as a warming zone because it'll still have residual heat, and I'll move potatoes or bacon over there. Now, I still always use all 4 burners to heat up the griddle. Don't just turn on the left 2 burners and leave the right 2 off. That can lead to warping. So always turn all of them on to heat the griddle up, and then when it's preheated, you can start turning 1 or 2 off if it's getting too hot. This brings us to our last tip, which is using residual heat to cook stuff like eggs. So, as I already stated, eggs need low heat. So let's say you are towards the end of your cook, you turn the outside burner off, then you can drop the eggs there and cook it in the remaining heat. Or you're really doing eggs last usually, and if your whole griddle is on, you can kind of turn the whole thing off and you probably got enough heat to just go ahead and cook the rest of the eggs there. Another thing with eggs, if you want to lower the temp, is you can squirt down a little bit of water and then kind of scrape it off or wipe it off with a towel. And this should lower the temperature for that specific spot you want to put an egg or an omelet in at 300 to 325 degrees. Speaking of cooking eggs last, that brings us to the cooking order. You should always put down what takes the longest to cook first. So the best example of this is breakfast. Start with potatoes, then bacon and sausage, followed by pancakes, toast, and finally your egg. If you cook your eggs first, they would be done way before the bacon and sausage and potatoes were done, okay? And they'd be cold just sitting there on the plate. So my chart here is in my ebook, again, which is in the description, and it's just the way I do it. It's not set in stone, folks. I always like to say that, but it's just kind of my general rules of how I cook on the griddle. Accessories, I really think you only need 3 essentially to start. Just 3: tongs, metal spatula, and infrared thermometer. Tongs, you probably already have these. I would just make sure you get a metal pair, not the silicone tipped ones because they might melt. Metal spatula, you probably already have these. If not, I'd get 2 of them because let's be honest, you bought this griddle to toss around some fried rice and pretend you're a hibachi cook. But I'd also try to make sure you get at least one of them that have a beveled edge to help get under things like smash burgers. Infrared thermometer, I've already went over this, so I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I do think this is the 3rd most important accessory. For example, let's say smash burger press is a popular accessory. Well, if your griddle isn't hot enough, it doesn't matter how nice your smash burger press is or how much you press that ball of beef down into the griddle, you're not going to get a sear because you didn't get it to the proper temperature. Or let's say a dome. I use a dome a lot to steam like omelets to help them cook through. Well, if your griddle is smoking hot and you didn't check the temperature, you're going to burn that omelet, whether you put a dome over it or not. And then it's just going to be disgusting and burn eggs. So that's why I think a thermometer is, really important and the 3rd most important accessory. Honorable mention, squirt bottles. Everybody gets squirt bottles. They're dirt cheap. It's good to put oil and water in them. I have a longer accessory specific video that I will link at the end. Cleaning your griddle isn't that hard and you will get quicker and quicker at it the more you use it. Also, if you scrape down as you go, as you cook, it'll make it a lot easier in the end. Step 1 is to turn the heat to low. You don't want to clean it with the griddle like smoking hot. Turn all burners to low. Step 2, squirt down some water and scrape off the food debris. I just squirt water as needed. Do not dump a whole bucket of water on there. That could cause it to warp, but just squirt as needed, scrape everything into your grease catch. Step 3, if the water hasn't all evaporated off, then wipe it down with some paper towels. It usually all evaporates off, but you want to get all the water off, no standing water left on your griddle. That's how it will get rust. Step 4, go ahead and turn your griddle off, then apply a thin layer of oil for protection, again, against rust. Step 5, cover it with a hard cover or a tarp/soft cover, and then you're good to go. You can buy one of those orange silicone mats if you like. I don't think they're completely necessary, but some people really like them. My order of priority would be hard cover first, then a soft cover, and then an orange mat 3rd if I was ranking them by importance. If you do get rust on your griddle, you can remove it with a pumice stone. I won't go over the whole process now, just know that I have a video link below that does go over it and you can reference it if you get a decent amount of rust on your griddle. It is not ruined, you can always get it fixed and back to new. All the stuff I went over in this video is in my $15 ebook, which is in the description below. It also has 101 griddle recipes, not random recipes, but stuff you'll actually want to make on your griddle. On your screen now is the accessories video I mentioned and 10 common mistakes new griddle owners make, which I think is a really good follow-up video for this. Congratulations to all the new griddle owners out there. I hope you and your family enjoy using it as much as I do with my family. Thank you so much for watching and keep on griddling, friends.